Let's talk about transitioning from one season to the next. If you do manage to win your Retro Bowl, you will get an extra 10 coaching credits, as you see there. We're going to be chatting about contract expiries, free agents, draft picks, and from my last season to this next one, I'm going to have quite a few decisions to make, as I will have 6 contracts expire, as well as 1 player retire. When a player hits 36 years old, they will retire and leave the team. You will get nothing for that. If you have a player you really like and want to put in the Hall of Fame and you know they're going to retire, they're 36, make sure you put them in the Hall of Fame, because once they retire, they are gone. They disappear. So we'll go over Hall of Fame entries in another video. In this one, we're going to focus on the salary cap and contracts. So as you see here, we have 6 contracts that expired, and we have to make decisions as to whether they're going to be worth re-signing. Our salary cap is currently at $250 million on this account. That's been after increasing it twice, which I'll show you how to do that soon here. So got to make sure you pay attention to their ages, their potential statistics, current statistics, and really weigh out if it's worth it to re-sign them or if it's going to be better to reject them. So sometimes you're going to have players that contracts do not expire, like this player here, that you do want to get rid of, and you can trade those players for draft picks in the upcoming draft, which will be important once we get there. You're also going to have players like this where maybe they don't have 5-star potential, but you just really like to play with them, and you may want to re-sign them just because you like them. There's nothing wrong with that. Everybody's going to play the way that they want to play, but you always have to make that decision as to whether you want to sign or reject these players before we can move on to the next season. I do want to get rid of one of my offensive linemen moving forward and replace those with a tight end. And I am going to need to bulk up my defense, as I did have a defensive player retire. I will need to make sure that increases. So currently at 10 out of 12 players, happy with those re-signs. I will need to hit the draft and pick up some players. Would like to pick up a tight end and a defensive player, but let's show you how you can get a free expansion. If you go to that settings options wrench, you can click that 12-man button. If yours says 10-man, you can click that and turn it to 12, and it will automatically increase your salary cap and the amount of positions that are open on your roster. Otherwise, you can pay for it through the front office by clicking that increase salary cap button. That will be costly to increase your salary cap. It increases it by $25 million per 100 coach credits that you pay. So I can pay 100 coach credits here and increase my salary cap by $25 million. But you got to be careful and weigh out if it's worth it for you, because those coaching credits are valuable for increasing your facilities and hiring new staff or free agents. So a great way to keep under that salary cap is to utilize the draft, because you can see those contracts are going to be significantly less expensive, even for good 4-star players. So use the draft. It is very helpful in keeping you under your salary cap and allowing you to pick up players that you want. So as I said, I really want a tight end, and fortunately this draft has a couple of solid looking tight ends, so I'm going to make sure that I make use of that and pay attention to their potential statistics, weigh out the differences there with the scout button, and sign the player that I find to be more attractive in that first round draft pick. So I'll go ahead and do that. We're also going to need defensive players, but this draft is not looking like a very good opportunity for defensive players. I mean, that guy, well, we got a 4.5-star potential there, so we'll pick him up. That'll fill up our roster positions. Almost filled the salary cap with that, but I do want to get rid of one of those offensive linemen and replace them with a defensive player to up my defense. I did just re-sign this player, so you'll see if I were to trade him for a draft pick here, it is going to be costly. It's going to negatively impact my team morale as well as my fan base. So it's a decision you really have to weigh out, especially since my fan base is hardly at that third bar, earning me 3 credits per win right now. So if I go below that, I'll only be earning 2 credits per win, and that can be costly if we're trying to save up some coaching credits. Ways we can earn coaching credits in the draft is to forego draft picks. So if I give up a second round draft pick, I can get some coaching credits, or for third round draft pick, you can get coach credits for those draft picks instead of making the picks. So I'm going to do that and instead hit the free agent for this defensive player that I'm looking for. I will need to get rid of one of my offensive linemen for that salary cap space, as well as roster space. So I do have to make a decision. Do I want to negatively impact my team morale and fan base and get rid of the offensive lineman that I don't care for as much? Or do I stick with him? They're both good offensive linemen, both 4.5-star potential, and get rid of my other player who will not have that negative impact. And that would be a harder decision if it were a more important position. With the offensive line, I'm not too worried about that slight difference between their statistics, so I'm just going to keep the player I just signed, get rid of the other, and pick up one of these defensive players off of the free agents to get a 5-star defense for my team here. So you got to weigh out differences in those free agents, their ages, statistics, and contracts, and make sure that the player is going to work for you. So I was able to fill up the team in the way that I like here. 5-star defense, 5-star offense, and hopefully this video helps you make those decisions.